Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Apple Box Chronicles. My name is Peyton Buto,
And I'm Adryon Thomas.
and today on the ABCs, we are taking you from A to Z on Jaws for the 50th anniversary, one of our favorite movies because we don't have any original thoughts in our brains, and we're going to take you through things we like about it, how it's formed us as movie lovers, the impact it's had, some fun facts about the movie. It's not going to be a traditional review. Also, if I sound super nasally, it's because I'm getting over something, so just bear with us. But yeah, Adrian, when was the first time you saw Jaws?
Um, I mean, it's kind of a long story, but I think the first time I remember seeing Jaws was, I think it was literally the day that I moved to Spain when I was 9, 10-ish, around that time. And I just remember seeing it, and it was like halfway through the movie because it was on TV, and I believe it was the scene in which uh the beaches are open and everything, and then they're trying to they're trying to find the shark, but they can't. Then he ends up being in the pond. And I don't know, I just remember seeing that and I was like, this is pretty good. Like, this is kind of a good movie. And I didn't really get into like my real love for Jaws until maybe a year or so later, when I watched it on DVD, because I believe my parents had it on DVD. And I watched it, and then I saw the making of, and it changed my whole trajectory after that, because that's when it made it really clear that that's what I wanted to do. That, like, movies is what I wanted to do with my life. And I don't know, that it was very specific that Jaws was the starting point of my, I guess, obsession with films and how films are made and who made films and what it takes to make a movie. So it wasn't just the movie itself, but it was a lot of the making of Jaws that really inspired me to really not only love the movie, and because to this day, if anybody asks me what my favorite movie is, there is no definitive answer, but my go-to is always going to be Jaws, because it's just an easy go-to. It's what started me into wanting to do all this movie stuff, and it's basically just a perfect movie anyway. So that's always going to be my go-to movie to say if anybody asks me what my favorite movie is. So Jaws, yeah, that's why we're doing this episode.
I do remember asking you that when we met, and that's what you said.
Yeah.
For me, I was actually like 16 or 17 when I saw Jaws, way late in the game, as I usually am on everything. But yeah, it was like the Spielberg effect, as we've come to call it,
Yeah.
where I watched it and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then I watched it again and again over the course of the next few years, and I was like, wait, but it's actually so good. Like, you don't actually understand how good it is. And that's what I think is great about Spielberg and why he's such an iconic director. Like, he makes movies that are like so good that they appeal to general audiences. They appeal to like the kind of I guess excitement that general audiences want out of a movie, and the subconscious kind of is there. But like, even as a conscious film observer that's like super into movies, and you're trying to pick it apart and you're like really focused on all the techniques that he's using, you're going to be just as impressed, if not more. But then like there's that kid inside you that's just trying to get taken away by like the magic of movies is still going to be ultimately like super satisfied by everything he does. And that's that kind of balance that Spielberg just, I think, achieves like no other director.
Yeah, I remember I saw this little, it was like a chart or something. It was like how people who watch Spielberg throughout the years feel about him, and it's like early years, like a kid through like maybe early teens. It's like, oh, Spielberg's great. He did Jurassic Park and E.T., and he produced the Goonies and all that stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, he's a great filmmaker. Then it's like later on, like teens to early 20s, it's like film bro era, where you're like, oh, he's overrated. He just makes movies for the populace, and he's too schmaltzy and like syrupy with his sentiment and all that stuff. And then it's like past your film bro era where you're actually like into movies. You're more experienced with how movies are filmed and made and what it takes to make those movies, and then as well as analyzing the craft and the themes and all that good stuff that all us film bros do. But like once you get past a certain moment, you go back to the Spielberg films and you're like, wait a second. There's more to this. There's way more to this. This is actually amazing stuff that we're watching. And then I think it's like the final era is like, oh yeah, he's like one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, undisputed, for many, many reasons. And I think that's been my case very early on, just kind of always knowing that. But even recently, I've been going back to some of his movies, and even I am just like, wait a second now, guys. He's really cooking. He is actually doing some incredible stuff that no other filmmaker does, and he's like pushing boundaries that no one's ever done before. And people aren't really looking into it like that because they are so popular that it's like, oh yeah, obviously, but it's not obvious. It's very unobvious about how great he is.
Yeah.
He's invisible to most people about how great his filmmaking is.
Yeah, like I remember writing about Jaws once, just one time I saw it not on the water, in the water, but like over a lake, like just like on a dock, like overlooking a lake. It was really cool. I've seen this in a theater. Like, I think this is the old film that I've seen the most in a theater on reruns. Like during COVID, when theaters were reopening, that was one that I went and saw. That was one of the classics that they would show. When it got an IMAX re-release in like 2022, I think I saw that. I saw it over a lake. I saw it on the water, and then we recently saw it in 40X, which we'll get into. But I remember writing about how just like, yeah, there's all these techniques and there's all these great things going on in Jaws. I mean, you could think about the pacing and you could think about like the blocking and like everything is brilliant. Like you could really pick it apart. But also what's so great about Jaws, what is ultimately maybe the best part about it, is that shit doesn't even matter. Like, it's just greater than the sum of its parts. It's just a movie that just, it works. All these things work together to create this, like you're saying, like an invisible kind of quality to it, where it's like the movie just feels like exactly like it should, even though production-wise, it was like the opposite.
Yeah.
And that's just what's so incredible about Jaws, is how it defies its own production issues and becomes this kind of perfect product through its imperfections, through its limitations.
Yeah, and that's something I've always said, is that limitations on a film set will blossom more creativity than having all the time and all the money in the world, because that, in fact, having all the time and all the money to make a movie will limit you the most, because you feel like there's nothing you could reach for. It's really like, it's like, okay, we're going to put the thing that we made from the get-go and make it like as it is, but there's no challenges in there. There's no kind of breaking through and finding deeper meanings in its script or in its themes. That's why you see all these really big, huge budgeted films that are coming out that some people are just like, okay, like Electric State that came out a few months ago, $300 million budget, something like that. Nobody cares about them. Like, people saw it and they're like, oh yeah, that's awful. There's nothing to it. But you see all these smaller movies with very limited budgets, and it's those movies that just really blow my mind. I'm like, how did they do that with what they had? And it's because of their limitations that it was almost more freeing for them to kind of break loose and do what they really
It
wanted
really
to do.
forces you to kind of exercise those creative
Yeah.
muscles. Yeah.
And that's just Jaws in a nutshell. It's like there were so many problems and obstacles that they had to overcome during the production that it sparked way more interesting things to happen in the movie than not. Because initially, I think you were supposed to see the shark way more than you ever did in this finalized version. And I think it works much better this way than it would have if you saw the shark immediately. Like, they did more of the Hitchcock route with this. It's like you're kind of hiding the viewer from... You're kind of making the viewer use their imagination a bit more with the shark.
Yeah, or you have these objects that are able to, like, take place of the shark in very, very scary ways. Like the part of the dock that floats out that he's attached to in an early sequence, or maybe the barrels at certain points, like just things that represent the shark, and just not exactly knowing where it is, but kind of having this idea of how it's moving. It is scarier.
Yeah, it's great. Like, he's under the boat. The shark's got under the boat. It's so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this episode, we want to mainly talk about like the different experiences that they've done with this 50th re-release of the movie. But I just also want to go a little bit into some of the production details as well, because there's a lot that this movie had to kind of overcome, which I don't know. I just kind of want to go through it. Did you ever watch the making of?
No, I did not.
Do you know like any really specific things about the making of this movie?
Probably only. Well, I mean, I knew about the shark not working. A lot of it. That was something I researched for a project one time in community college. So I knew that this was a very turbulent production, but I didn't know the extent of some of the details that I guess you kind of shared with me as we were drafting this up.
Yeah. Well, so again, like when I saw the making of when I was a kid, Spielberg was just going through it. He was going like he thought he was going to get fired like throughout the production. He was like, this day I'm going to get fired this day. Nope, I'm going to get fired this day.
In fact, there is an intro that plays if you go see this in the theater for the re-release. He literally says in the intro, he's like, I didn't think I was going to get hired again.
Yeah. But yeah, like they went way over budget, way over scheduled, and the mechanical shark that they wanted to use couldn't work because they were shooting on the ocean, in the real like saltwater ocean, which they don't do. And I think Steven Spielberg had said, I wouldn't do that again if I had the chance, because it's so hard to work with under those conditions.
I believe he advised like Kevin Costner for Waterworld not to do that, and then it like went horribly because he didn't listen to him.
Yeah, and always listen to Spielberg. Come on, like especially after doing Jaws, if he's telling you not to do something, you probably shouldn't do it. But yeah, the mechanics of the shark. When they tested it out, they tested it in fresh water, where the salt's not going to attack the metal and the machines of the working shark. But of course, if you put it in the ocean where there's salt water, there's going to be a lot more problems, and they didn't really account for that. So they had like several sharks that they were just constantly working on, and I think people on the production have even said that they're like, yeah, they were working on that shark like day and like all the time. There was never a day where they were just like not working on that thing, and it was always constantly on the radio. It's like, shark's not working. Shark's not working. Until there was the occasional, the shark's up, let's shoot right now, we gotta shoot right now.
Yeah.
Which is super frustrating just to think about, just the long days without knowing what to shoot, and the hours of just waiting and waiting. And because again they were shooting on the ocean, you're not the only ones on the ocean. There are ships passing by and things. So when they're trying when they're trying to get a shot, and there's just happens to be a boat going by, they have to stop the shooting and just like wait it out. And that could take a few minutes to a couple hours just to wait it out, just so they could get certain shots in. And it sounded like such a laborious process of just hurrying It's like the whole hurry up and wait thing, where it's like you're really, you want to do something but you can't because you have to wait for something else to happen. And that was the movie the entire time. So they had to do a bunch of rewriting and like kind of figuring out where these, what they can shoot without having the shark present. And that's why you get all these great moments on the boat with like Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw, like just like the whole drinking the beer. Like Robert Shaw drinks a can of beer and crushes it.
Yeah.
And then Richard Dreyfuss drinks a little styrofoam cup of, I don't know, water or something, and he crushes that too. It was kind of a marrying the relationship Shaw and Dreyfuss had on set as well as in the film, because they were at each other's throats like the entire time. But even Dreyfuss had said afterward that, you know, Robert Shaw, like in person, like if you're like them alone, he was a really, really great, nice, very nice dude. But like on set, whenever they were like surrounded by people, they were just at each other like the entire time. Because I think Shaw came from, you know, more of a stage person. He did like Shakespeare and all that stuff, where Richard Dreyfuss, he's kind of younger and he was more of a rising movie star. And those two, the way that their methods of acting and approaching the film were just so different from each other that sometimes Dreyfuss kind of came off as kind of arrogant, and Shaw, with his own method of acting, was kind of pushing back on that and being like, even in the movie when it's like you've got city hands, or you've never worked a day in your life, it's kind of like exactly the same kind of relationship they had outside of that, like the movie itself, which is really interesting. There's a lot of documentation on that, and that I find really interesting. But yeah, without the shark working, if the shark would have worked, we probably wouldn't have gotten a lot of those great character moments in the movie. One of the best moments is actually, I think, the moment where Robert Shaw is talking about the USS Indianapolis, which I think is my favorite part of the movie. I think it's also Spielberg's favorite part in the movie. But they had to rewrite that monologue several times. They had like John Milius rewrite it. They had Howard Sackler, who was a playwright, rewrite it, and even Shaw himself had to like kind of condense it so it wasn't like a million pages long of monologuing. But it's like it was like the perfect amount of editing it down to where you got the story across, and the performance was great. Even though half of that performance, Robert Shaw was wasted. He was drunk out of his mind. And I think
he is in the scene too.
Yeah, I might get this wrong. But I think he asked Spielberg if he could drink a little bit just before the first like take of that monologue scene. And he just got too drunk to like really perform it. And then the next day he was like, "How bad was I?" And I think Spielberg was like, "Yeah, you were pretty drunk." And so he was like, "Please let me do it again." And so he did it again sober, and they just kind of spliced the drunk version and the sober version together.
I feel like that's perfect.
And it's seamless. It looks great, and it comes off great, and it's one of the greatest like little monologues in a movie I think ever put to screen.
I would agree.
And you kind of get all of them, all three of the main characters in that moment, just kind of having it a nice little moment together, even when they're singing "Show Me the Way to Go Home." I think when they were shooting that, even the crew were kind of getting in on that, and I think some of the crew members are like, I think, tearing up a bit because they're just like, "Show me the way to go home. I don't want to be here anymore."
Yeah, they were getting into it.
They're like, "We're all going through this right now," but there's so much stuff we could talk about the production, but you could just watch the making of, and they'll go through all of it. Anything? Well, also there's the whole tank exploding thing.
That's not real. That doesn't happen.
It's not real. Even Peter Benchley, the writer of Jaws, told Spielberg.
Fucking garbage film, bro. Like, this was most of y'all. This is what I think. I think if Jaws came out today, it's flopping. It's not. Maybe not flopping, but it's not getting the recognition it got in 75.
It is a big what if. I think if Jaws were to come out today unaltered at all, I think people would still like it to a specific, like a certain degree.
I think people would like it, but I think generally it would not be received the same way. I just think the way that audiences engage with movies has changed so much, and I do actually think that tank thing, I think it would just be like, that's ridiculous. Because there is so much, there's so little suspension of disbelief nowadays going around.
Yeah. But yeah, the tank exploding is not a real thing that happens to oxygen tanks. If anything, it just kind of burst open and it like leaks out a bunch of like, it's like psh, like one of those things.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually like combust
fully.
But Spielberg told Benchley, he was like, throughout this entire movie, if I haven't had the audience up to this point in the movie completely engaged with it, if they're not completely on board with everything that's happening in the movie at this point, then the movie has failed way earlier than this point in the movie. So this is not going to be the problem. The problem is the movie itself. But obviously the movie is great, and by the time the tank does explode, the audience is totally with it. They're like, yes.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
They're like, yes. Like, even when we saw it, we'll go into this a bit more, but even when we saw it on the water, they did a little thing that, like, everybody was going crazy, like, when the shark died.
Yeah, we are going to definitely mention that later.
Speaking of, when they blew up the shark, which was, I believe, the last shot of the movie, or one of the last shots of the movie, Spielberg wasn't even on set because he was afraid that on the last day of the movie the crew was gonna like throw him overboard into the water and like do a bit of a prank on him. So to kind of counteract that and be like, nah, that's not gonna happen to me, he just didn't show up to set.
That's crazy.
And they just did it without him, which is really funny. But yeah, there's so much to talk about the behind the scenes of this movie. I could probably talk for a few hours, just kind of go like day by day with
there's
stuff.
a lot of documentaries. There's a lot of things, resources you could watch. Like, it's a highly documented movie.
Yeah,
to go through.
I don't know. It's just so great. If you don't know anything about the making of Jaws, really look into it. It's fantastic stuff.
When it comes to Spielberg movies, this dude could talk forever. I mean, I remember like what we were talking about earlier, like the Spielberg effect, where you're kind of like, oh wait, but it's actually that good. I remember you recently had like encountered someone online watching Saving Private Ryan for the first time, and like we went to get some burgers together at P. Terry's. Shout out P. Terry's, love that place. If you're in Texas, you know what we're talking about. And we were sitting there, and you were like, Saving Private Ryan is like incredible. Like, you had this specific theory on it, which I'm not going to spoil because we might do something with it later.
Yeah.
But you were like, I didn't even know how good it was until that happened. Until I saw, like, I realized this while I was just like thinking about it and like all that stuff. You were so excited about it. It was great because I had something to tell you too. Because I had just rewatched Split, and I was like, dude, Split, it's like a perfect thriller. You don't understand. Because that's my Spielberg.
Yeah.
So this is this nice back and forth thing. Because I knew I wanted to tell you about that, but I was like, oh, he might get annoyed by this. But then you were talking about Saving Private Ryan. I was like, okay, so we both have a thing. This is good.
But yeah, well, let's just get into like the on the water experience, because that was really, really something else.
Yeah, so I got invited to this. I when tickets went on sale, I was like considering it because I was like, this would be really cool. It's up at this place called Valente Beach in Austin, and I was considering it, and then I got invited by some a PR company that I work with a lot locally, and they were nice enough to be like, bring like several people. So we brought all of our roommates, and my girlfriend went with us, and we were like all super excited to go. It was quite fun. So it's at this like water park beach thing. So we got to go down a slide or two, and then we got some free merch. That's the shirt I'm wearing, these hats right here. Some other stuff, and there was like an inner tube, and it was Jaws themed. And we all went out on this area in the water, this kind of pond area, and they had the screen up there. And because of the wind, it almost gave this kind of water effect to the screen where, like...
The screen was blowing all over the place, and they were trying to figure out how are we going to show this?
Yeah, it's like those pictures you see of someone, like, being like, oh, don't watch this in the front row, and, like, the head's all blown up on the screen. It's great.
But, yeah, it was... I, unfortunately, only had time to go on one of the slides, because they kind of shut down the water slides, like, at a certain point, and... We were just, like, trying to figure out the place, trying to get food and seeing what they had. But it was really cool. If they ever do it again, I highly recommend it if you're in Austin. I think they usually... I don't know if it's at this certain location, but there's always some kind of Jaws on the water going on in the summer.
Yeah, usually. I think the Alamo sponsors it here, and I think they do it, like, every year, every summer.
Yeah, and it was really cool because we got to literally on this kind of closed off little like part of the beach.
Yeah, it's like this area in the lake where that's specifically for that.
Yeah, and it's pretty big, and you get these tubes that you get to go in that are like Jaws made, and there's a designated person that just goes underwater.
I think it's a few people.
Or a few people.
They have, like, the red lights,
yeah,
and you'll just see them, like, appear underneath you and turn on a red light, and it's like, oh, no. They got, like, snorkels, and they'll, like, tug at your feet and stuff.
Yeah, they kind of act as, like, a little fake shark, and they'll, like, attack people. And like, during the movie, you'll hear people literally screaming because someone, like, touched their toe or something, and they're like, ah!
Yeah, it's really fun. I hate, like, the idea of getting... chosen in that way. Like, yeah. I was so scared to
someone did one of the guys did touch me. I didn't really like make a big thing.
You were like
about
nonchalant.
It. Yeah, I was like, I'm watching the movie, bro.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing about it. If you haven't seen Jaws before, I don't know if it's the greatest thing to watch.
No, you have to be like a fan,
which is unfortunate because I do know I had a coworker who went to that same exact screening of Jaws that we went to, and they hadn't seen it before, and they did like the experience. But to me, I'm like, damn, that like I wonder if they got the full actual.
You're not gonna appreciate, I guess, everything in the movie
because there's a lot of distractions and things going on. Not terrible, but just kind of have you engaged in like the
there's
moment.
Like a ratio to it. Yeah, it's like 50% you're watching Jaws, but then the other 50% you're enjoying all this new stuff that's involved.
Yeah, and like you get drinks and popcorn on the water and too. Like it's pretty cool. I honestly I would recommend it to any Jaws fans, or if you've seen Jaws once and you want to see it again, this is a great thing you can do.
Spice it up.
Yeah, just watch it on the water. It's really fun. Like we were saying earlier, when the shark explodes, they send up these fireworks, which I wasn't expecting.
Yeah,
and that was really cool.
Yeah, they set off a firework like right when the tank exploded in the movie. It was really perfectly timed. It was very fun.
I think there was also a few. There's like a few. I remember when we were watching it. What do you call it? What do you call it? Like those falling stars,
like shooting stars.
Yeah, shooting stars.
Oh,
you can see there's like 3 of them that happened.
Couldn't have been planned.
It wasn't planned, obviously, but it was kind of like that amazing.
Yeah, that's
like little moment.
That's really cool.
I was like, holy crap!
No, I didn't notice that. I was looking at Richard Dreyfuss.
And it's pretty great because in the movie there's a few shooting stars in the movie as well.
That's true.
So. That was super cool. I think that was one of the cooler experiences watching this movie. But we also saw it in 40X as well.
This is low key better to me. Like
if you're wanting to watch it for the pure cinematic just watching the movie. Watching it in 40x 3D is so good, especially this restoration. Incredible.
Yeah, the restoration is truly insane.
Incredible. Like, I don't think I've ever seen the movie look that good before, ever.
Yeah, the depth that the 3D is creating, it's not like annoying 3D where it's like everything's popping out. It's like, no, it just feels like a deeper image.
And it's like so much sharper and a little brighter. So there was moments where I was watching the movie and I was seeing things in the background that I've never noticed before. They're not important by any means, but they're just little details that I just never noticed before. And it was truly like almost watching the movie for the first time. And even in the intro, Spielberg's intro to the 40X restoration, he was saying, I hope you... this is like watching the movie for the first time again. And it truly, really was like watching the movie for the first time because it was that good. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a restoration that good before.
And also just the 40X mimicking like a rocking of a boat. Like,
oh, yeah.
All that stuff was super fun. Spielberg says before, he's like, this is like the ultimate Jaws experience. He doesn't even know how right he was in our case. Because, God, like, we got so lucky with the actual screening we went to. There was this lady, older Southern lady, like 3 seats down to my right. And every single time anything shark-related happened, anytime any scare, anyone got eaten, like, she would just go, oh, shit! Like, super loud.
Yeah.
Like, and usually that would bother me in a movie, but, like, I've seen Jaws a bunch of times, and I was just like, wow, I don't know if she's just never seen it, or if, like, it's the 40X that's doing it. But God, like, she was just really, really reacting to this movie. I mean, I think towards the end, she was like, I hate this movie. It's too fucking long, like, towards the end of the film.
But
it was amazing.
I do love that, like, they're really pushing this re-release because we both work at movie theaters, and the movie theater that I work at, they were showing a few of these screenings. And there was a lot of people going to them. Like, there was, like, 50-plus people per theater.
Can't say the same for mine.
Yeah, because your clientele.
They don't like movies.
Yeah.
They don't like movies.
But mine, there was a lot of people going to the re-release of this movie, and it warmed my heart because I'm like, there's still fans out there. There's still people that really love this movie. And whether you've seen it for the first time or you bring, like, your kid to watch it for the first time, it's really great. And I love that they're doing that. And this is what we talked about several episodes ago when we were talking about all these live action remakes or these just remakes. It's like, why do that when you could just re-release the original that's perfect as it is and just having a new audience for that and just like putting it out there and having just a little bit of a new experience by doing the 3D or the 40X or even just doing a restoration of the actual film and just putting it back out there for audiences to watch again out in the theater. Just do that and you're just free money for the studio at this point because as much as it takes to restore those movies, the audience will come back and you'll make a big buck, and then all these new people that watch it for the first time, they'll go back again and again. Because it's one of those movies that people do really like go back and rewatch over and over again because it's just that good.
It's so good.
The fact that there is a 50th anniversary of Jaws is crazy. Like that, like, and people are still into it. Like, there's not a lot of other films other than maybe like Star Wars or maybe like The Godfather where like, if you were to put these movies out, people would really come back in mass.
I mean, Revenge of the Sith did pretty well earlier in the year.
But again, that movie
that's
is
Star
like,
Wars.
That's Star Wars, and it's not 50 years later. Like, the fact that this movie is 50 years old is kind of amazing.
I think in 2055 there'll still be Revenge of the Sith fans.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
actually.
In 2027 we'll get Star Wars, the original,
New
the
Hope.
fact that that's not even 50 years and Jaws is crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, there's not always it's not a perfect influence. It's influenced a lot of movies over the years, but it's also had its negative impact as well, unfortunately. For sharks, like sharks are now seen as very scary, very villainous, and like ooh. But sharks are good for the ocean environment, and they're friends in a lot of ways. And this movie's kind of made people very scared of sharks in ways that are just so unnecessary.
Yeah, it's a propaganda film, honestly.
But even Peter Benchley, the guy who wrote Jaws and co-wrote this movie, he became a really big shark advocate, and trying to showcase that sharks are like they're good for the environment. There's a lot of like fishermen out there that work for big companies that kill sharks for their fins or for their meat, and they'll literally just cut the fins off the shark and just throw the body back into the water, which is crazy. Like, if you're gonna we eat fish, like people eat fish, and they eat fish from head to head to fin, I guess. The fact that you're killing off a fish just for certain body parts and just throwing away the rest is insane to me. It's like, if you're like, I don't know, eat the whole thing. Like, don't. It's like you're just killing an animal just to kill an animal, because.
Yeah, have some respect.
Yeah. Even that aside, there's a lot of people that just kill sharks to kill sharks because of the negative, the negative, like, view that we have of sharks these days. But I feel like there's also the other side of the influence, yeah, where a lot of people have seen Jaws and have now become very into marine biology, that because of the Dreyfuss character, honestly, because he's such a great character, and he kind of,
he's my favorite character in the movie. Damn it, Martin. It's my favorite line.
I love Richard Dreyfuss in this movie. I love his character too. But I love
gonna die.
The thing about, another reason why I love this movie a lot is because all three of the characters, I could see myself in all three of them in certain ways, in certain situations. And I don't know, I just love the Richard Dreyfuss character because he's like super into it, and he's like super into the all like this stuff, and he's not scared of the sharks at all, even though he should be. He even says a story about how when he was a kid, like a shark attacked his boat, and he saw the shark like taking over his boat, and then it just made him more curious as to wanting to study sharks. And it's kind of like me watching Jaws and seeing like,
you're like, damn, this production fucking sucked. That sounds kind of fun to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Or people watching the movie and they're like, this shark's dangerous as fuck, but I want to study marine biology now.
Yeah. So there's good things that came off of this movie and a few bad things that came off of this movie, but it just showcases how influential this movie is from the get-go. People are still afraid to go into the water because of this movie. Like, literally, like, before this movie came out, people were fine going into the waters, even with the how people viewed sharks back then. It was still scary, and people were like, oh, they could hurt you. But after Jaws, it was like it's like spiked in fear of the ocean after that, because a lot of people are like, man, I could just, like, the moment I go in the water, I could get eaten.
Yeah. Even
though sharks don't even like eating humans. We're too bony for them. They would rather go over a fatty seal or something than, they would rather go over like some fatty seal than a human. Like, and sharks, again, they're creatures, so they don't know things. So if they bite someone, it's usually just to see, like, what kind of what are you?
Yeah.
It's not more like, I'm gonna eat you. It's like, what are you? And then usually they'll be like, I don't like you.
They get the ick. Yeah.
Yeah. But sharks are cool. Stop hating on sharks, guys.
Yeah. And there is quite a few other ways that the Jaws influenced cinema, obviously.
There's so many ripoffs.
There's so many, and the way we kind of broke it down is there's a Type 1 Jaws ripoff,
And a type
which is
2.
and a Type 2, which is like Type 1 is like they either take from the first half or the second half of the movie, and they roll with that.
Yeah.
So like Type 1 is like the city is under attack, or the community is dealing with this threat. And that's movies like Alligator or like Piranha. To an extent, I think Orca is a rare ripoff in that it kind of does do both.
Yeah.
Orca is fucking spectacular.
Orca is like a crazy.
It's a truly insane
movie.
The Orca design is crazy. It's such a weirdly personal movie. The Orca is just an insurmountable hater. Like
Well, he's not just he's getting revenge on this guy.
Yeah, but dude, like, the Orca is like toxic, but like I kind of rock with him.
The Orca, the movie Orca is super interesting because on the flip side of Jaws, you're weirdly on the Orca's side of this entire thing because Richard Harris's character is just not he's not a good guy really at all.
He's trying to decide whether he should like go after the Orca or not, and like every time he decides something, then another character's like, but maybe you shouldn't do that, and he's like, you're right. And that happens like in both directions.
And they're like trying to kick the dude out of the town because there's like, the Orca's here because you're here,
dude. The
bro.
Orca is so smart in the movie, like it's like blowing up gas lines in the fucking town from the water.
Yeah,
fucking that shit up. Just
the ending's insane too,
dude. The Orca, I'm telling you, watch Orca. Like I wouldn't even say it's like good, but I would say it's like super worth watching.
It's super interesting, especially as a Jaws ripoff. It is so interesting.
They do like a Kill Bill thing in it. It like zooms in on the Orca's eye, and it's got the like. Dude, it's incredible what they do with this movie. Like, the Orca is so incredibly locked in the whole time. Like, oh my god, so insane. Anyway, we got off topic. That's like a mixture. That's a special one.
Also, when we say ripoffs, we're not saying that necessarily in a negative light. These are all like homages and like they're inspirations from Jaws. Like they see this one template and they're like, we could use it for other things. And some of them do it really well, and some of them don't.
Yeah, we're not saying that they're bad or anything inherently.
Yeah.
Alligator is, I think, actually genuinely fantastic.
Alligator's a great. It's also Alligator and Piranha are both either co-written or written by John Sayles, who's a great writer and director. Look him up if you don't know him. But
and then
he incorporates a lot more satire and like parody into his films rather than just saying we're just gonna remake Jaws but with a different fish or a different creature.
Exactly. It does kind of change it a bit.
Yeah.
Also, just to finish this thought, the Type 2 is like the at-sea adventure, like the second half of Jaws. Yeah. That's something like you say, like Anaconda. That's a popular one.
Yeah, they're just out in the Amazon, just waiting to get killed by a snake. Also, Anaconda is the DP for that is Bill Butler, who is the DP on Jaws.
Yep.
Also, the DP on Child's Play, Chucky.
Yeah,
this guy right here.
That's true.
Just a little fun fact for you guys. But yeah, there's a lot of really fun rip-offs of Jaws, and I think Jaws, in effect, has changed the music. Oh my god, Jaws has changed the movie industry as much, too, because Jaws was like the first blockbuster, like summer blockbuster, I think, that we know of. Before that, it was really just big, prestigious movies doing really well, like Gone with the Wind. But Jaws showcased that you can make a movie that can really pull numbers. Like, it was doing, like, the reason why we have the word blockbuster is because people were lining up around the block, like, in droves, like literally down blocks towards the movie theater just to watch the movie. And I think that had both a positive and negative impact on the film community since then too, because once big studios saw that these movies can make a lot of money, they went full force into it.
I think it's one of those things where it's like necessary, but not everyone learned the right lesson from it.
Yes. Because movies have always made a lot of money, and they've always garnered a lot of glam and show, like as far back as like the 20s and 30s, where you get these big stars and you really promote the movie, and the movie will do fairly good. But Jaws was like one of the first movies where it's like over $100 million, where that's just like money Hollywood has never seen before. They're like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. And that's when, the producers went very into like capitalism. They're like, we gotta replicate this and like produce. We
gotta franchise this shit.
That's why a lot of people have even said that Jaws 2 is like also one of the worst things that has happened to the industry, because it just showed that the studios just wanted to get that easy cash grab. Just like, we're just gonna do it, but do it again, but with less substance, less creative, honing in on any of the greatness that the first movie had. And again, there was no limitations, because they knew that the movie was probably going to do good. They had all the money, they had all the time. They didn't really care about any limitations to the movie. Like, Spielberg had to be very limited in him making the first movie. The second one, they were like, here's all the money, make whatever you can to replicate the first film. And then you see just a bunch of movies after that do the same thing with their franchises. Like, once the movie does really big, we got to make a second one and just try to do that all over again, without considering that whether or not they needed a second movie or not. Jaws didn't need any sequels, but they got them because the studios needed them.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. And I mean, the second movie's not terrible. It's just,
I haven't
like,
seen it.
It's just whatever. It's like, okay. I mean, Roy Schneider's back in it, and that's kind of cool. But it's whatever. It's all right. And then it just gets worse from there. Jaws 3D, not great. Jaws 4, I've seen only like half of that movie. It's really not great. So yeah, that's why there's certain movies I feel like you just shouldn't touch, no matter how good they are.
Or just make a rip-off, make a billion orcas.
Also, I feel like if there's gonna be a sequel to a movie, I feel like the original creators of the first film would have to feel passionate about making a sequel in the first place, because if they're not, then there's probably nothing there.
Yep.
The fact that Spielberg didn't come on for the second movie just showcases that there was nothing there. And plus, there's also the thing that Spielberg probably didn't want to make another Jaws movie after all the shit that he had to go through in the first Jaws movie, which he's even mentioned in this newest 50th anniversary doc that just came out on Disney Plus, that Jaws literally gave him PTSD for years afterward. Like, even after he'd become like a really great, well-known director, he'd still have these like nightmares about working Jaws, and like feeling like he was going to get fired every day, and he was going to lose his job and his reputation, and it just ruined him for a hot second. And obviously you don't want to go through that experience again. I don't think anybody would. But it showcases that there's a lot of sacrifice in the making great movies that people don't always see as well. Not just from, the people on screen, but the people behind the camera as well, especially. But yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about that. I don't know, anything else we missed?
No, I think we just about covered it.
Yeah, it's pretty short. little
It's Jaws,
episode.
though.
It's Jaws.
We didn't want to go like dissect the plot of Jaws.
Because if you haven't seen Jaws,
The movie starts with a woman and she's in the water. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. The music of Jaws too. John Williams. Come on.
How did we not mention that?
I think the reason why John Williams is so great as a film composer is because he also doesn't limit himself to the obvious. He'll like redo like for instance Star Wars, one of the greatest pieces of film music ever. It's him doing kind of like his own take of other composers, whether it's film composers or just composers of the day, like Gustav Holst's The Planets and King's Row from years ago. And he's just taking those themes and kind of like doing a little spin on them. And I think that's what all great filmmakers do, is they really... in some cases they steal.
It's an eternal improv exercise.
But with Jaws, it also showcases that he doesn't need any inspiration to come up with something so great. It's so simple. Little dun 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 dun. Like even Spielberg thought it was a joke when he first heard it. He was like, "Okay, what's the real thing? Well, what's?" And then,
no, it's incredibly like.
Yeah, John Williams is just like, "No, that's it." Dun, 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 dun.
And just keep making it faster.
And it's and I mean, you see that from Psycho. Like it works in Psycho.
Yeah.
So why can't it work with Jaws?
I mean, yeah, it gives it that kind of slasher DNA that it kind of has.
Yeah.
As being like one of the original slashers.
Yeah, sometimes more simple is the best way you can go.
Exactly.
And I think people try to put too much. They try to go too much into like, this needs some like, I don't know. There's too muchness in a lot of movies nowadays where it's like we need to get really, I don't know. It's like a lot of big movies are like, okay, so we have the money and we have the time, so let's go as far into making this as complicated as possible. And it's like, you don't got to do that. You don't got to get all complicated with all that stuff. You could just make it simple and make it memorable. And as long as you could make it memorable, then it works. You don't got to make it so complicated.
But yeah, that's the discussion on Jaws that we wanted to have, is just its impact and what we love about it.
Yeah, just a little 50th anniversary appreciation of Jaws.
Yeah, sort of like what we did with Revenge of the Sith, in a way. Just like that got re-released. Same thing.
Yeah. What's your favorite Jaws ripoff?
I don't know, but I really just need to keep glazing Orca because I just think it's so funny.
I think mine is... Shoot, it is kind of hard. I've always said Piranha because it's just kind of like this fun little movie that even Spielberg, when he saw it, he was like, "That's really good. Maybe Joe Dante should direct Gremlins," which is what happened. But Alligator is also really good too. Alligator is just such a fun, subversive Jaws ripoff of a movie, where it's like every moment you think there's going to be an issue, it just solves itself immediately.
I actually do think that might be my actual favorite. But like I said, Orca is just such an interesting movie.
An interesting experience. Watch Orca, guys.
Really do.
Watch Orca.
It's quite insane. What's your favorite Spielberg film? Jaws.
That's what I tell everybody, Jaws. But I mean, it's like, just name a Spielberg film and I could say, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, most of them. Yeah.
Pretty much most of them.
And what's a formative movie for you? Shoot. Jaws. Truly, though, I'm going to give you a weird answer. I think Baby Driver.
Okay.
Because, well, like, I'm pretty young. I was like 14. I think I saw that movie on my 15th birthday. And it just was like, there's something about the technique of that movie it's easy to point out it goes with the rhythm of the music. But something about it awakened me to the greater kind of techniques of filmmaking. It wasn't just about letting the movie kind of glaze over, and just having fun, which is obviously still great to do. But it really awakened me to how fun it could be to like be like, oh, I see like what they're doing and why they're doing it and how this informs the character, and like that's still one of my favorite movies that I honestly should go back to soon.
It was my favorite movie the year it came out. Unfortunate the people that have worked on the movie, but
yeah, it does have an unfortunate cast in history, but like really it did awaken something.
It also kind of pissed me off watching that movie because he was doing a bunch of stuff that I wanted to do in movies, like the whole like shooting to like making the movie to music is something I've always wanted to do, like a car chase with the music.
You gotta be quicker than that.
I know.
You gotta be quicker than
that.
Well,
obviously, yeah, I could just be saying that, be like, oh, I came up.
I thought of that though.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But it truly was like, I was like, God damn it. He did it already. I can't do that anymore.
Yes, you can.
I can, but
Orca still exists despite Jaws.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, Baby Driver is great. The editing, the movie's really fun.
I love it.
And yeah, obviously Jaws is like probably my biggest formative film, but I would actually say Star Wars is more so, because before Jaws there was Star Wars, and Star Wars really just sparked my imagination because I remember as a kid, when you're like playing with your toys and you're like make believing and like you're like I've always had like Star Wars action figures and whatnot, and that was my first like real way of me kind of formulating movies in my head with playing with my little action figures. And Star Wars was always a great way to have me creatively think of like little stories to put together, and like I would see in my head like ways that this would have been filmed if I were to like actually shoot it. And this is me like as like a 6-7-year-old. Like I would think of playing with my like Star Wars action figures as if they were an actual Star Wars movie. And I think that was a very formative movie for me to just kind of go up the scales until I saw Jaws, and I was like, oh, I can make movies that no matter, even if it's like hard to make movies, like you still make movies and have it work out in the end. And so really Star Wars and Jaws were like the most formative of my life, I think, in terms of movies.
Yeah, I think a lot of people could say the same.
I'm sure so many people could say the same. Did you know that Steven Soderbergh saw like Jaws like, I think he said like 100 times or something?
He's like, dude, oh man, I gotta get my trap number up. But yeah, he's like, dude, my name is Steven and my last name ends with Berg too, so.
Yeah. It probably wasn't that seems wrong, but he saw it a lot of times, like back to back, is like when he was growing up. And
it could be one of those movies like where you're Orson Welles and you just watch like Stagecoach like fucking
over and over
30
again,
and then you're like, now I can make a movie.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to do. That's what you don't realize.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, Jaws always watchable for me. I could watch that movie probably every day and probably be fine with it. I don't, because I don't want to. I feel like watching a movie too many times can spoil over a bit. Obviously not for you.
No, dude, I love rewatching my favorite shit.
But
so too much actually.
I try to limit myself on certain rewatches because I don't want it to lose that magic.
I don't think that happens for me, but I do kind of overindulge.
Yeah, but I mean, it's Jaws. I'm gonna watch it like 100 more times before I die, probably.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah, Anyway, well, what are your guys' favorite Jaws ripoffs or formative films that you consider are your favorite Spielberg films?
Yeah, let us know. Leave us a comment. Subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. Write us an email if you have an idea and you want us to execute it or something. Yeah, we post episodes every Monday. Stay tuned. Stay up to date. Let us know what you think. Give us feedback. I guess that's it.
Yeah.
I've been Peyton.
And I've been Adryon.
And we'll see you next time on the Apple Box. And I won't be as sick next time.